if you've been under a rock for the past, I would say even hour or two, because I think this is something like if, you know, you happen to be checking socials, you happen to be checking the news, then you're like, yo, is this stuff with Elon versus Musk really real? Like, I had to really double check. I'm like, yo, is this real beef going on right now? So I know there's a little bit more context to it, and we're going to get into exactly that, how Elon and Musk and Donald Trump started beefing right now and how that could potentially affect the rest of the market and some of Tesla's stock. On the no trade list, Gus. I see why it's on the no trade list.
Oh, man, like, you do see why it's on the no trade list. And I'll tell you what, Errol, I'll tell you what. I was the closest I have ever been to breaking my no trade policy today when Tesla was down 8%. And I am so happy that I laid off, because I would have been so mad. I was going to get long. And I would have been so mad. So I'm happy to have it on the no trade list for now. We're asking about finals predictions in chat. We'll circle back. We'll talk a little ball at the end. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, you know we got to circle back around to that. But no, I mean, explain what's going on with Elon and Donald Trump and Tesla stock in NBA terms. I mean, we'll come up with something by the end, but we'll go ahead and jump into these first slides here. Elon Musk versus Donald Trump. Elon Musk and Donald Trump squared off in social media beef for the ages today, and here's what happened and how the market reacted. So let's get into it. So give us a little update. What's been going on, Gus? So I know over the last few days, there's been more talks about budgets, bills. I know Elon Musk was brought on to really cut a lot of waste, reduce spending, really get our debt under control. So give us a little bit of a timeline.
Yeah. So quick little timeline here. And this is much more nuanced. Feel free to go have a scroll through Elon's Twitter or Trump's Truth Social for slightly more elaboration, just hitting the high points here. But Elon began speaking out against Trump's big, beautiful bill 2 days ago, June 3rd. And things came to a head yesterday, June 4th, when Musk emphatically tweeted, "Kill the bill." We have screenshots coming up here in a minute. Trump clapped back at this tweet today for the first time, his first time diving in and acknowledging the fact that Elon was talking shit this whole time. And he said that Elon was just mad that the EV mandate was being lifted. And that started an all-out war. All of a sudden, they're going back and forth. It's an impossible war to follow because they are on different social media platforms, which makes things quite annoying to keep up with. And then Musk clapped back and said that he believes Trump is on the Epstein list, and that's why they haven't been released yet. Trump didn't acknowledge these comments. He instead just put out a pretty generic tweet in favor of the bill and a slightly anti-Elon tweet as well. But yeah, it's beef. We have the leader of the free world beefing on Twitter with the richest man in the world. So that's where we're at in 2025. This is what we do now.
I know we're going to get into the screenshots here in a moment, but it's just so interesting, right? We got Elon, who purchased Twitter, known as X now. And then we got Truth Social, which is Donald Trump's social platform. And it's just so interesting. I just see this beef going back and forth. I'll go on Twitter and I'll see Elon Musk's tweets, right? And then when I see Donald Trump clap back, I see the screenshots from Truth Social with like the green check mark. And it's just so funny. They have their own platforms and they're beefing from what they hear is being said over here to on this platform and then just back and forth. So never thought I would have seen it done at this stage, at least. I'm familiar with Twitter beef, right? Like social media beef, especially, you know, if you grew up with social media, it's a common thing. It's not rare to see, but to see it with two very, very high profile figures, never thought I'd see the day. But we got the first tweet here. I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. And this is on June 3rd, just like what Gus was mentioning. This massive, outrageous pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Elon clearly not happy about the spending, and then shame on those who voted for it. You know you did it wrong. You know it. So Elon Musk coming out with these piercing words. I mean, these are some pretty sharp tweets to come out with. Do you think the bridge is completely burned here? I feel like there's really no returning from here.
I do at this point, and especially as we get into some of the tweets that are going on later. This extends beyond a political or business style conflict. This is, it's getting pretty gnarly. I think it's interesting, and the big back and forth here is whether, and I mean, this is a subjective thing, nobody really knows, but it's whether Elon actually fundamentally cares about the U.S. deficit, or if Elon is really just upset, as Trump says, that it's because of his EV credits. So we're back and forth on that. Price action for Tesla on June 3rd here. This stuff didn't really start to jump until about today, which we'll get into some fun price action today. But yeah, initial response from the market to Elon's opening tweet in this salvo was pretty much a nothing burger. Slight upward action on June 3rd.
Yeah, and just speaking some thoughts out loud before we get into this next tweet, I just think too, like, okay, what are the incentives? What are the incentives? You know, a huge incentive for Donald Trump to become buddy with Elon, you know, influential power, you know, those kind of things, you know, incentive for Donald Trump too. When I think about it, like, okay, if Elon's is friends with Donald Trump, who can affect some of these, who can affect some of these laws that go into place and how things play out. You know, he owns a huge EV market, and he's really the industry leader in the EV space. I'm like, okay, you can kind of see how, you know, Donald Trump could get value out of Elon and how Elon could get value out of Donald Trump. But I'm really just curious on how this really broke down. Like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? And something had to have been brewing before everything fell over. So those are just kind of my current thoughts. But we have another tweet here. Musk kill the bill tweet. Call your senator, call your congressman. Bankrupting America is not okay. Kill the bill. I mean, this is pretty as straightforward as it gets. I mean, going out onto a social media platform, it's not like you're speaking to the press. It's not like you said something kind of vague. I mean, it sounds like Elon's calling it out pretty clear, is what it looks like on my end, Gus.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he went straight for it. There's no beating around the bush.
And he went straight for the throat.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and
at this time yesterday, everything was still political. This had not yet gotten personal at this point yesterday. Elon was still just on this high about wanting to kill the bill. And yeah, I don't know. I think you bring up a good point about incentives and what both parties have to gain from being friends in the first place, and now what both parties might have to gain from beefing. And I'll get into this in a little bit, but I'm conspiring in my brain that perhaps Elon is thinking about wanting to run for president. And his pinned tweet, which he can't do, he was not born, he's not a nationalized citizen. He's a citizen, but he was not born domestically, and you must be born in the United States to be eligible to be the president. But he's suddenly tweeting out and saying his pinned tweet right now is this survey that says, is it time to create a political party for the 80% of Americans in the middle, yes or no? And people are voting on that, which to me indicates that he might want to try to get involved in politics himself in the near future, potentially as a third-party candidate.
And to your point there, I think I'd seen that tweet. I believe it's about an 80-20 split. So, I mean, the data, I know it's just a poll, it's just a data point, but that data point's really interesting, you know. And I just wonder again, because guys like that don't end up in the places that they're at by complete accident. You know what I mean? So I just think too, like, these guys had to have known certain scenarios could potentially play out. And I just wonder, like, if they would have thought this scenario would play out and how they would move their chess piece pretty much if this scenario played out. Like, if everything hit the fan, it's like, was that Elon's plan to take it out of his back pocket, like potentially rile people up for another party, you know, that could be a potential candidate to go against the Republican Party or the Democratic Party? I don't know. Just seeing everything from the last few hours just has me thinking about all these things that could have been, because it's like anything's possible at this point is how I feel.
I agree. And the reason for my belief that might be his angle is because at this point, you are now the enemy of both parties, at least of liberals and conservatives. There's people in the middle that might be picking sides in this battle. But you made the liberals hate you with everything that you did with Trump, with Doge. And now you're going to turn around and make the conservatives hate you, going at Trump's throat. And from a business perspective, especially from a Tesla perspective, you're just alienating everybody now. I don't know what the thought process is there. But from a political perspective, the only reason I can see alienating both parties like that and trying to just chuck yourself firmly in the middle is if your plan is to try to form some kind of third party. And Elon Musk, like you said, you don't become the richest man in the world by accident. I would bet that there are very, very, very few decisions he ever made that were not extremely calculated. And so I think that there has to be a broader motive with all of this.
100%. And calculating scenarios that have a very low probability of happening. A guy that like that, you know, I don't put it past him. He had to have thought about these even improbable outcomes. Like, yo, if this happens, you know, how would I go about this? So don't put it past him, but just interesting to see how these things play out. And with that being said, Tesla's June 4th price action, I mean, we're starting to see a little bit of a hammer here, right? We haven't even got to June 5th yet, but it looks like we started to see a little bit of effect of this negative sentiment, it looks, on June 4th, Gus.
Yes, and I mean, I think it's noted that I believe the market closed slightly red yesterday as a whole as well. So there might be conflating variables going on. But yeah, this is where we first started to see a little bit of spillover. People maybe realizing that this relationship is breaking down and starting to collect their profits, which I'm sure there were lots of people taking profits as soon as this all started to break down. Tesla's been on an insane run. But yeah, we start to see the little inklings of Tesla and the price action on the 4th.
Yeah. And then, you know, before we get to the 5th, it's looking like we got a tweet on Trump's social.
This is the 5th. This is today as well. It was the first time Trump responded was today.
There we go. And then now once Trump responded, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months that I was going to do. And he just went crazy. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I seen on Twitter, Elon I believe, tried to refute this point right here. If I'm not
Elon's
mistaken.
retaliation to this point was he just said it was a blatant lie. It was a very short
Right,
tweet.
He said this is the most obvious lie.
Yes.
Right,
Which
100%.
that was his defense. Nobody knows. Nobody knows if he knew or not behind closed doors, I suppose. But then, all of a sudden, this was what really set everything off today, and is what really set off the market action on Tesla that we're about to get into. Yeah.
I mean, this is when I started to get into like, yo, is this a refresh, close out? Right when I saw this.
Yeah. So Elon finally goes in for the jugular, says time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the reason they haven't been made public. Have a nice day. And then he basically says, book it, in his second tweet. This is very interesting. These are very lofty accusations, though he is far from the first person to make them. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, because Trump did run on trying to get this Epstein list out, and it has not happened yet. There was little inklings of it right at the beginning of his presidency, and then it kind of just went away. That's something that I know Trump voters are unhappy with, is the lack of a Epstein list release, and I'm unhappy with it as well, I might add. It's interesting. It's a lofty accusation. It's you can't. It's hard to prove a negative. I suppose maybe Elon is trying to force his hand just to get the list out. But this is nuclear. This is the nuclear option for Elon. And this is the moment where I say this is irredeemable and these guys are going to hate each other forever.
I think you're right. This is huge. This is where things start to get a little touchy. It starts to get a little personal here. And just thinking about Elon's decision to say something like that out there, and then not only that, to double down on it, right? To book it, like you kind of just mentioned, mark this post for the future, the truth will come out, right? If that truth doesn't eventually come out, I feel like Elon Musk is gonna lose a lot of credibility. So I just think, again, I assume Elon knows the repercussions for tweeting something like that, and understanding the repercussions, maybe from a credibility perspective, what would happen if that does not come to fruition. So it's very bold to go ahead and throw stuff out there like that. That's why I'm just really interesting to see how this is going to play out long term, because I mean, they're really sticking their necks out here in terms of credibility, because we'll see how things digest. And like you said, it's not the first time there's been people saying things of the sort along the same lines, kind of what Elon's saying, but Elon's not everybody. Elon has enough power to influence administrations, like we just saw with our last one. So Elon isn't just anybody. Elon has a lot of power. We saw a guy that's not even born here, that's just wealthy, work his way up into the administration. If it doesn't just show you how powerful he is. So for him to say something like that, I'm like, I don't know. Is there something more going on? When you go personal like that, it just makes me think like he must, I don't know. It just feels like it went off politics so fast. And I don't know how you feel about that either.
Yeah, no, I mean, he absolutely went in for the kill. This is something that I believe if Elon is sitting on evidence of this being factual, that he should get it out. And to the point in chat from Maiku, he said you can't threaten a sitting president. And I have started to see sprinklings of people calling for treason here as well with Elon. And I don't know that I don't think he's done anything that's inherently treasonous yet. I think everything he's done so far is absolutely within the guidelines of freedom of speech. I'm not accusing the man of treason. But that is something that people are starting to whisper about. And I mean, potentially something that Trump could try to move on if he gets angry enough. Although, to his credit, I appreciate Trump not taking a personal dig back at Elon and instead trying to stick to the politics. I do think that that's I suppose he took a small dig back. It was not a personal dig, though. He said we're going to take your money, but he didn't say anything about Elon personally. But yeah, this is the response here. Should I do an impression? Should I read this in?
Yeah, let's hear it. Wait. All right, let's hear it.
I don't mind Elon turning against me. Should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever proposed to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion. The biggest tax cut ever given. If this bill doesn't pass, there'd be a 68% tax increase. Things would be far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country on a path of greatness. Make America great again. And then the tweet preceding that one, he said we would save billions and billions of dollars if we eliminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. This first tweet is hilarious because, like, I do believe this is objectively true. I do think that there are billions of dollars in subsidies floating around in the EV space right now. That is like such a drop in the bucket as it pertains to the actual, national deficit.
100%.
And also, is that the easiest way to save money in our budget? I don't know if it's the easiest one, but it had to make me laugh a little bit. This is where we're at.
I also got to say that that was pretty good. I gotta say the fluctuations in the vocal cords was pretty on par. I definitely recognize that. Right.
Thank you. I try my best. Probably more wine and Ambien and many other things contributed to Elon's tweets. Yeah, that's possibly true as well. I remember seeing.
You think Elon's just chilling? Like,
yeah.
So why? Like,
he's just high off his ass right now. He's gonna wake up in the morning and be like, "Wait, what? I tweeted what?"
But no, this was Trump's response off of the very direct tweet that Elon had put out earlier today, about an hour before the close. But June 5th's price action for Tesla really taking a hit here. And I mean,
could barely fit it on the screen.
Say that again?
I said we could barely fit it on the screen. Tesla's running off the bottom of the screen here.
It's literally running off the bottom of the screen. So make sure you update or refresh your platforms. Though I meant to drag it up a little higher. I didn't realize I did that. But as you can see here, Tesla's been taking a massive hit pretty much all day. I was in the same boat as you, wanting to get long after initially seeing that down move in Tesla. I even wanted to at the end of the day, and I was like, you know what? Don't do it. For some reason, this one just didn't feel right to get long because of all of the uncertainty surrounding it. It's not something I've seen before. I've never seen somebody legitimately beef with the president. What a time to be alive. We got somebody really beefing with the president. We're all here to see it in front of our face. I just never thought we'd see something like that. And because of all that uncertainty, I made the decision. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to scoop up some out of the money Tesla puts. Even though that premium was jacked up, that volatility was spiking on Tesla, ended up leaving it alone. So it's still on that no trade list for me for now.
Well, yeah, my thought process today, it was like this shifting thing because at first Tesla dipped, I think it dipped like 3.5%, and then we went to 7%, and then we got, which you can kind of see happening in the price action here, there was some stability, and then some more downward, and then some serious downward action once the Epstein tweet went out. And when the initial tweets were going off and they were going back and forth, I was just thinking, okay, this is a political thing. I don't think that this political debate between these two people really justifies this type of downward action on Tesla. You know, I'm sure that this is just going to be a little spat, whatever. But then all of a sudden, the Epstein tweet comes out, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're going nuclear here. And the market seemed to have a similar interpretation. As soon as that tweet came out, it fell all the way off. Tesla closed today down 14.26%, which is actually a recovery from their lows of the day. So yeah, quite the move out of Tesla.
100%. I mean, as we wrap up, this is how NASDAQ closed on the day. Very similar view like Tesla, right? Tesla looks a little bit more aggressive to the downside. But I mean, the overall market started selling off a little bit in this afternoon as well and continued into the close. So that's what we had gotten, a little bit of an update on the Elon versus Trump shenanigans. It feels like reality TV. I don't really know what to make of it.
It feels like a South Park episode, for real. I mean, yeah.
Right. And you know, we're sitting over here, but it literally feels like I'm watching a reality TV show right now, and I'm waiting to see how things, you know, unfold. You know, I bet it's not funny for like Elon and Trump and anybody else that are affected by the beef going back and forth. But look, I gotta say, beef was always a little bit entertaining. Okay, I can't be the only one. I'm curious to see how this is gonna pan out. But as we head into the platform here, a little bit of SPY, that downward move helps a little bit.
We might get a big downward move tomorrow as well, especially with AVGO driving everything and coming down after market here. You're like, yeah, you got a solid chance at these all of a sudden turning into winners for you.
Right, and I mean, VIX has just been screaming. I know VIX has been screaming and whispering in your ear as to why you still have.
I'm long right now.
Exactly, we're getting a little bit of a pop today, and it doesn't look like it's over. We might just be getting started on the VIX. So volatility increases. Maybe we see that downward moves in the market. That'll help this SPY position. QQQ is landing right in the bread basket, Gus. This was that $10 wide iron condor that I had. I was like, if we get a sell-off later in the week, it could drop right in that bread basket. I did say if I'm break even or up a little bit on it, I'd probably just take it off. But the way things are looking right now, I might just wait till tomorrow morning. Well, I don't have a choice now. I'm going to wait until tomorrow when the market opens up, see where we're at, and then potentially take this one off. But this was one of those that was very narrow range, and you know, Elon doing the job for us to get us within that range at least. And then we got Nvidia. Nvidia, a little tough one. Still been kind of grinding higher. I got short on Nvidia not too long ago, kind of on the dance floor. It's testing the call side that I sold, not testing the one that I bought. 15 days left till expiration. Gonna have to wait that one out. And then we got Lulu. Look, guys, I know it's not looking too hot right now. I know we're down a little bit on Lulu. But if you've been looking at Lulu, especially over the last hour after released earnings, don't worry. We're going to be sitting pretty tomorrow. So we'll go ahead and manage this position. I didn't know how I felt about Lulu. Lulu was going against me right away, and then we got that downside move on earnings. Then we had Disney, just bought a put on Disney. That one's down a little bit, up on the day, but down on the overall position. Hasn't really gone anywhere. And then we have a short position on NASDAQ. If this market continues to sell off, I'm holding this bad boy. I'll take this one off at break even. But I decided to hold this one into the close. So we have a little bit of a cushion on it. But if we can gap down, it would make me feel a little bit more comfortable. But I would love to hold this one a little bit longer just because when we zoom out a little bit, I know we've sold off. But when we really zoom out, we still have more room to the downside. You know what I mean? Like, it always feels like these downside moves, and I was talking about it with Dr. Jim yesterday. It's like these downside moves, we'll get a 50 point, 100 point, 200 point down move, and it's like, wow, we got an aggressive pullback. And then when we zoom out, it's like, wow, the market still rallied from the bottom April 7th around 16,700 in NASDAQ. So if we can get a little bit of a pullback, that'll be nice. Other than that, that's what we got in these positions. Really just going to see how this fiasco unravels.